17 ways to work from anywhere in the world. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? Your dream might be to live and work in one of the great cities of the world, Rio, Stockholm, Paris, or your dream might be to be as far away from the major cities as possible. You might like the mountains, the beach, the rivers, or even the desert. While this might be what we ideally want, each of those is probably going to take a little bit of time and effort to organise. So how can you prepare and how can you start to live and work from anywhere in the world right now, this week and even today? In this video, we'll explore 17 ways that you can work from anywhere in the world, and at least half of them are things you can either do today or this week. Plus, at the end, I'll share my number one thing you need to be able to work from anywhere in the world. I'm Jeff McDonald, the Ideas Architect, and I help business experts earn money from what they know from anywhere. Before we dive into the deep end with our 17 ways to work from anywhere in the world, this is important because it will expand our choices, plus it'll give us some choices that we can make right here and right now. In other words, we can be working from anywhere today and not having to wait weeks, months, or years for our ideal scenario to eventuate. One of the best ways to see them is to map them onto a simple graph. On the vertical axis, we have time. We have the things we can do today and the things we can do into the future. Clearly, the things in the future need a little bit more preparation than the things we can do today. On the horizontal axis, we have location. And on the left-hand side, we have the things that are close to home, the local ways that we could work from anywhere. And on the right-hand side, we have the whole wide world, the global choices we have about working from anywhere. And when we put all this together, there's three main bands that appear that show different ways that we can think about how we work from anywhere. And you might consider them as stages to actually grow your competency and grow your experience about how and where you work. The first way to work from anywhere in the world is to work from home. That's right, literally your current home. Now, normally when we think about working from anywhere in the world, we're thinking everywhere else but where we are right now. But let me put that into context. For the past decade, I've mostly lived in Melbourne in Australia. And for most of that time, Melbourne was rated as the most livable city in the world. So here's me sitting there going, oh, look at all these other places I'd rather be. But I bet there was a whole bunch of people around the world looking back at me going, hey, I wish I was in Melbourne right now. So the grass is not always greener somewhere else. It's worth reminding ourselves that anywhere in the world starts with wherever you are right now. And who knows, this might even be your ideal place to live and work. And there's two simple alternatives here. The first one is to stay and work at home. And for some people who have worked lots in offices or in other places, that might be heaven. For other people like myself who have worked at home for a lot of their career, that gets a bit boring after a while, particularly when you live on your own at times. So what I've done is actually packed up my backpack, got on my bicycle, and I've ridden all over Melbourne to coffee shops and libraries and co-working spaces, and I've worked there. So I'm constantly working in different places across the city of Melbourne. Effectively, I was working anywhere in Melbourne, but still sleeping in the same bed at night. This is the perfect way to get started in working from anywhere. You get to experience what it's like to work in different places, plus you get the joy and the thrill and the excitement of doing it in different places. As you learn what works for you in your local area, you'll be able to apply this further afield. Our second way to work from anywhere in the world is through trips. And if you've ever been on a business trip, then you've had some experience of this. Essentially, you pack up your work gear and you head off somewhere else. It might be interstate, it might be regionally, or it might even be internationally. It's usually only for a few days or a week, a short period of time, and then you come back to your home base. Our third way to work from anywhere in the world is to do it on the move. This means you effectively don't have a permanent home. Instead, you move from one location to another. This is the world of the digital nomad. Now let's dive into our 17 ways to work from anywhere in the world. And you might like to think of these as a menu from your favourite restaurant, where you can pick and choose and combine different things into your ideal way of living and working. Number 1, and the obvious one, is home. This might be new to you, or it might be old hat. It might be the place that you love working from, or it might be getting a bit stale. Number 2 is the office. And for many of you, this might be the last place you want to be working and the one place you want to be further away from. Working from anywhere in the world is not the office. For me, I've only ever commuted to an office for about 2 years in my entire working life, so it still feels like a bit of an adventure for me. But while it's nice to do every now and then, I definitely don't want to be doing it on a regular basis. Our third place for working from anywhere in the world is a co-working space. And this can be a variation from working from home and working in an office. And you can spend a couple of days in the co-working space surrounded by your colleagues and a couple of days at home so you can mix and match. And this gives you a really good mix of social time with other people and quiet time alone on your own. Our fourth example is a coffice. And a coffice is a coffee shop as an office. This is one of my favourite parts of my day, where I'll go for a walk to a coffee shop, sit down, and I'll do a short burst of work. And that would be my point here, that it's about a short visit, not a long stay. My general rule is, if I'm just having a coffee, I'll stay for a maximum of 30 to maybe 60 minutes. After that, I probably need to pay some rent for the table I'm taking up by buying some food. The key thing about coffee shops is that sometimes they can be very noisy, and sometimes that's exactly what you want, and sometimes it's not. Number 5 on our list of work from anywhere in the world locations is the library. And this is probably a really good contrast to the coffee shop. The coffee shop can be noisy, the library can be quiet. And the key here is to test a few different local libraries because they will have different facilities. Some will have totally silent rooms, some will have low-level talking rooms, some will have great Wi-Fi, some won't. Number 6 is the park or anywhere outside. When the weather is right, sitting in a park in the sunshine, around the trees, is just one of the best places ever to work in. Number 7 in our list of locations to work from anywhere in the world is to walk and talk. And you might have heard the term, sitting is the new smoking. And essentially it means that if we sit down at our desk all day, it's not good for our health. So we need to find ways to get up and do our work while we're moving. And one of the best ways to do this is to go for a walk and do your phone calls while you're walking. This is particularly good for catch-up type of calls, but not so good for the calls where you need to take a lot of notes. Number 8 is a walking meeting. And I have a friend who does a lot of coaching conversations, and he's in coaching conversations nearly all day. And one of his favourite things to do is to go out and do walking coaching meetings. And he finds this is much better than sitting across from somebody, particularly for the tough conversations. So next time, instead of booking a boardroom, book a walk for your next meeting. Number 9 is to co-home. Why work in your home when you can also work in someone else's? Typically once a year I head up to Sydney to visit one of my friends and we work together. She works in her home office some of the time, I work on the dining time some of the time, and then we come together to talk about our businesses over coffee or lunches or meals or walks. It's a great way to have social time and work time with people you care about. Number 10 in our list of locations to work from anywhere in the world is the day trip. As the old saying goes, a change is as good as a holiday. And simply packing up your belongings, heading into the next suburb, heading into the next town, might be just enough to freshen you up. You can still get some work done, but you're doing it from a fresh location. You can certainly visit the coffee shop, the library, the park, or do some walking meetings there. Number 11 is a homestay. And this is an extension of the day trip. Instead of going for one day, you can go for several days. And you may or may not bring your family with you. This is particularly something you can do for a weekend or even during the week. This might be an Airbnb, it might be a hotel, or it might even be a camping ground. Number 12 in our list of locations to work from anywhere in the world is to do a house swap. So if you've got your own place, why don't you find someone online that wants to live in your house while you live in theirs? This might be somewhere regionally, interstate, or maybe even internationally. It's likely to be for weeks and months. It's a great chance to be able to set up and do some work, but also be a tourist at the same time. Plus, you're not paying money for rent, you're literally just swapping houses. Number 13 is a house sit holiday. Like a house swap, a house sit is staying in someone else's house and taking care of that while they're away. The difference here is you're living in someone else's house, but no one's living in yours. Number 14 is house sitting on the move. And I've done this for over 2 years around Australia. And effectively it means I was going from one house to the next, to the next, and to the next. I didn't have a permanent base. And typically the key to this type of house sitting is that you're actually there looking after someone's pet. So it's kind of pet sitting that comes with a free house. Number 15 is the backpacking holiday. And a lot of younger people do this where they pack up literally their gear into one backpack and they go from place to place. You could try this either as a backpacker or in hotels or even in campgrounds. The tricky part here is when you're moving from place to place consistently is being able to find the regular, stable places to get your work done. Number 16 is the van or the caravan or the RV. In contrast to living in someone else's home, this is you taking your home with you. It gives you a little bit more control over the way you live, where you sleep, in the same bed, and also being able to set up a work desk or some work location for yourself. And number 17, our final opportunity in how to work from anywhere in the world is on a cruise ship. I was looking at this prior to the pandemic, and the way it would work was I would be a presenter or a speaker where I'd present for an hour a day, and in return I would get some board, I would get food, and I'd get to travel with the boat around the world. You could do this as a paying customer rather than an employee as well. And the good thing about cruises, they can go on for weeks or months. Hopefully, you're now really excited about all these possibilities about where you could live and work anywhere in the world. But before you do that, there's one thing you're going to need above all else. And what I've shared today, there's two presumptions. The first one is you actually have some work that you can do remotely, either as a job or in your business. The second is that you have the tools and the equipment to do that, which is usually just a laptop, a mobile phone, and internet access. Above all this, to be able to work from anywhere, you actually need to know how to work from anywhere and in any situation. As I hinted with the coffee shop, it's going to be noisy. Are you going to be able to do what you need to do in a noisy situation? Or do you need to go to the library where it's going to be quieter? The key here is that you'll need to learn in different ways. When you work in the same place every day, you can work in the same way every day. But when you're working in different locations, you're going to develop a set of different skills to be able to be productive in different situations and at different times. The good news is you can start practicing this today, even just by working in different locations or at different times around your own home. If you have any questions about how to do this, feel free to add a comment below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.